Exactly. Can you please try to do it again, Anna? Just to see if it's working properly? We still see your deck on the left. If you can try to...
Are you able to see it now moving or not?
No, I mean, can you change again?
I'm clicking. No, you're still on the same slide.
We're in the same content. Now it changed. So maybe it's a delay on the, yeah, now it's changing, but we see it on the deck. So if you go down on the lower side, it has the presentation mode on the right, there, that one.
Yeah, that's what I clicked.
Oh, because right now, if you see, it's the yellow one that is reflected there.
Yeah,
That one, not the, could it be they have two monitors and sometimes it's pick up?
I do have two monitors, yes.
Yeah, sometimes it's pick up like that and you have to edit in Zoom.
Sí. Ujú.
O sea, la...
Is it working now?
It's the same, but don't worry, you know, at least we can see the big slide on the center, so it should work. So it's fine, don't worry about it. So
But when I'm clicking, is it showing what I'm clicking?
yes, you are moving. Yeah, now you're in number 3, correct?
Yes, but
Okay.
it's supposed to be like, it has animation, so it starts appearing.
No, we cannot see the animation, no.
Okay, we'll do it without animation.
It's fine, don't worry, these things happen, it's fine, it's totally okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so you let me know. We'll wait and you let me know.
Yeah, sure, of course. Thank you.
I don't know how you're seeing it because in mine I can see the animation.
I know, we see the small deck of slides on the left. You see, like with the pick in the middle, let me take up. I'll send it to your WhatsApp right now, in case you want to see how it looks, but it's not
Perfect.
bad, don't worry. Okay, we're just gonna wait 2 more minutes for the rest of the students to join. And then we're going to begin. I send it to you, so you can see it.
Perfect, thank you. Oh, no, I see. Same. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'll just try to, I'm just gonna condense them a little bit.
Sure.
One more time. And here. Perfect.
Great. Yes, you did it.
Did it work?
Yes.
And now is it showing as I click? Chun, 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 chun. Yeah.
Let me see right now. Because I'm also in the dark. Yes, it does. So great.
Perfect.
Great,
I
Anna. So
think it
yeah.
was the two monitors I had.
Okay, yeah, sometimes I do that. I remove it when I see that it's not working.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, great. Let me
Perfect.
see time. Okay, we might begin. So hi everyone. Let me just start recording. Okay. So
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi everyone, good afternoon, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce you Ana Maria Cabal Herrera, Ppcr alumni from 2020 and from Colombia. She's currently doing her third year of residency in neuropeds in the Nationwide Children's Hospital here in US. Ana Maria also did this talk last year. She's invited. She was one of the best students in Ppcr in her year, a scholar award, one of the best video creators for statistics and sharing resources for her colleagues and other students in the program. And it's really an honor for me to present her today, because besides all that achievement, she just keep growing, and her passion for research and education has also made a big impact to us and all the Ppcr alumni before. So Anna, welcome once more, and it's a pleasure for us to have you. You may begin.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope you're all enjoying Ppcr. I know I made lots of very great friends. It was a great opportunity to meet people, to connect, long-lasting friendships, long-lasting connections. And I think we learned a lot. And then after I finished Ppcr, was able to continue as a teacher assistant. And I think it's very nice that you're here, and I hope you stay connected, because it opens too many doors, and I'm glad you're all here. So I'm going to talk about applying to medical residency as an international medical graduate. I applied to child neurology, which is its own world, because you're interviewed by adult neurology program directors, by child neurology, and also by peds. And to prepare this talk, I also talked to associate program directors from internal medicine, med-peds, so that I could get a little bit more perspective in case anyone here is interested in internal medicine or something else. But just that to say that every residency program is its own world. So it's important to do your research, talk to people that apply to what you're interested in. So what we're going to talk today, I'll tell you my pathway so that you can understand where I'm coming from, and my perspective. And then specifically to peds, how competitive is it? And then we're going to talk about clerkships versus observerships, because that's like a very common question. And then if you were not able to do a clerkship, are there any additional experiences you can pursue? We'll talk about USMLE briefly, and red flags, are they real? A little bit about personal statement, how important is it? Letters of recommendations, specifically, should we include a letter from a mentor or a professor or an attending who's outside of the US? And then navigating the interview season, and then ranking time. So briefly, my pathway, I graduated from Universidad del Valle in Cali, Colombia, where I'm here right now, in 2018. After I graduated, I didn't know I was gonna pursue residency in the United States, but I was considering it. So I started preparing for the steps for the USMLE exams. I presented the step 1 and step 2 in 2019. Then I pursued, it's called International Training Programming Neurodevelopmental Disorders in California and the Mind Institute with UC Davis, because I knew I wanted to do child neurology, which was a very nice experience there. And then I joined Ppcr. COVID hit, so it was all virtual, but it was a great opportunity. And then as I was doing Ppcr, I joined the Global Neurology Research Group in Mass General Hospital. As I was doing all that, and that's very important because you don't want to have a gap, I continued working with my hometown university as a research assistant, medical and volunteering work. So throughout all those years, and still now, I have my international elective right now this month. And I was allowed to come here. I got a travel award to come back to my country and work for a month on projects I had here in my hometown. So I managed to have longitudinal work here in Colombia. And then 2021, I matched in child neurology at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. So talking about pediatrics and how competitive is it, there's lots of international medical graduates. This is information from 2022 NRMP data. This takes into account the preferred specialty. So those that says not matched are those that didn't match to pediatrics, but it doesn't tell you if they ended up matching in the non-preferred specialty. If they ranked the second specialty, maybe they ended up there. But you can see in pediatrics, in the non-US IMGs, which would be someone like myself, last year, there were a total of 538 IMGs applying and 328 matched. So roughly 61% of them matched. So it's not one of the most competitive. In some, you can see like 30% people match. In internal medicine pediatrics that I talked to one of the APDs for this talk, that one is very competitive even for US graduates. And it's not very well known for us, at least in Colombia. We don't have med peds or internal medicine pediatrics. Only 9 matched, 9 IMGs, but out of 21. So pediatrics is not one of the most competitive. And thanks for my field, child neurology. It's a competitive field, but it doesn't have that many positions, and it doesn't have that many interested applicants on child neurology. So in terms of applying, we talked about clerkships and observerships, and it's important to talk about clerkships just because clerkships is the hands-on experience. So you won't be able to do a clerkship unless if you already graduated, which was my case. I graduated from medical school, so clerkship was out of the picture for me. And I was worried because many programs have it in their webpage, like hands-on experience in the US or Canada is required for you to be considered. So if you have not graduated from medical school and you're considering a residency and it's within your possibilities, I would encourage you to do a clerkship in the US. It allows you to have insight into the healthcare system. It's very important for networking and letters of recommendation, which would be different because it will be someone who saw you actually in practice. So we'll be able to talk to you about you in the letter of recommendation with regards of your clinical skills and patient management. And it's like a validation of the skills and knowledge. It also lets you know how the US medical education system works. And as I mentioned, it's a requirement in some programs. So if you go to Nationwide Children's Hospital and you're interested in pediatrics, it will tell you there, hands-on experience is required for you to be considered. I think it says 2 years of hands-on experience, which is not feasible. So I ended up in this program as a child neurology resident, not as a pediatric resident. If I had applied to pediatrics, I would not have been granted an interview. So you have to see the programs. There's lots of programs in pediatrics that do not require a clerkship, but that's something for you to take into consideration because it can limit the amount of programs you can apply to. Important things in terms of clerkships, and it's like there's a lot of scam. So one of the APDs that I talked to was saying that it's very important for you to do a good research when you're going to look for clerkship. So look for accredited institutions, use the known reliable resources to find an adequate clerkship. Just like you can see a list in ECFMG, you can always reach out to them when you're like doubtful about an opportunity, AAMC, and also if you have it, I know in my university we don't, but sometimes in your universities you have medical school advisors that can help you and can help you navigate it. Networking, so like talk to someone, and you're in PPCR, so everyone knows here someone who has matched in every specialty. So just talk to someone and be like, I want to do a clerkship. Who has done a clerkship? Where have they done it? And what would you recommend? So networking is very important. And I know like all IMGs, we're all very willing and happy to help each other. Verify the credentials and then check reviews and feedback. Contact the institution directly. If you're doing it with a second-hand person, try to contact the institution directly as well. And then this is for both clerkships and observerships. Be very careful about unreasonable promises and guarantees. Some observerships will charge you a lot and will tell you, we will guarantee you interview for our program. And one of the APDs was saying some of those programs guaranteed you the interview, but it's just like for you to go and pay for that, but they won't even consider you for a position. So guaranteeing an interview was not like guaranteeing you that you'll actually be eligible for them. And then, as I mentioned, you can always consult with ECFMD. And then there's great advantages. And I think as an IMG, you have to know that there's advantages for them to have you in their program. You contribute to the cultural diversity, and that enhances patient care. There's more and more talk about the importance of representation and how representation matters, and how like representing the population improves healthcare outcomes. And then we're having lots of states where we're having inside migration in the US. So states like where I am in Ohio, in my city, we're seeing lots of migrants that are coming from New Jersey or New York seeking for better opportunities. So there's lots of movement. And as there's movement and the population changes, having medical providers, healthcare providers that represent that population improves healthcare outcomes. So know that it's not only that you're seeking for something there. Some programs know how valuable you are, and you should also be aware of that. You're also contributing to language skills and ability to serve diverse populations. And you have a unique perspective from your training, from your country, and that also enriches their culture and their experiences. And then IMGs are very important, and we're filling gaps in physician shortages, especially in underserved areas, especially in COVID, when there was a difficulty with visas and all those, they were aware how important IMGs are to fill many of the positions. And then challenges and considerations that the program see, sometimes limited residency position, even from the US medical graduates for certain specialties, differences in healthcare systems and practices. They will ask you a lot about this. So it's very important for you to be interested in their healthcare system and be aware of the differences with yours, adapting to a new culture as well. And then for observerships, they do not involve direct patient care or hands-on experiences. Even if you manage for your mentor to write a little bit about, I saw them talking to the patient, they have great clinical knowledge. The people that are reviewing your letters know that if you did an observership, you were not allowed to have direct patient care or hands-on clinical experience. It still has important benefits. So exposure, networking. Many of the mentors have helped my friends like get interviews, and they're like, this person was very eager to learn. I think they will adapt very well to a residency here. So if you are not able to do a clerkship, an observership can still be a very valuable experience. And then about other experiences, one of the APs was mentioning that there's other US affiliated experiences that you can look for. For example, the gorgeous courses in tropical medicine, that is with University of Alabama. There's Harvard affiliated programs in South Asia. You can do research and then you can be connected with mentors in the US. There's the International Research Initiative that we can talk more at the end, but if you're interested, it links you with a lab affiliated to Harvard program, and then training programs in your field of interest. For example, myself, that was not a clerkship, but I did a training program in neurodevelopmental disorders with UC Davis, California. So that also gave me an experience within the US. USMLE has changed. especially from my time. Step one was like what we were more working on. People were dreading the score about it, but now it's pass fail. Some people feel like the scores should be secondhand. They should not be the one of the filters, but still they receive so many applications that you must be aware that some IMGs do say like we still use the score to screen a little. So step two, clinical knowledge may become more important now that step one is pass fail. So just dedicate yourself and you have to find that what works for you best. You can talk to many people and there's different pathways on how to prep for them, but it's important, and having a good score is important as well. Now, talking about red flags. So poor performance on USMLE sadly is a red flag. I believe it should not be, because exam takers, that's a different skill that doesn't translate directly on how great of a clinician you are, but still for some programs it's going to be. But it's also that having a good score can open doors for you. So in my case, in a hospital that doesn't take IMGs that much, the child neurology webpage says, if you scored more than this, we will accept you or consider you for interview, despite the fact that you don't have hands-on experience in the US. So it can open doors as well. Time since graduation. So I was asking, is this a real flag, a real red flag? And then some of the associate program directors mentioned to me that ERAS actually allows for them to apply a filter where they say the time since graduation is more than 5 years, then that person won't be considered, so they won't even offered an interview. So it can be a red flag. So if you're going to apply there, try to do it as soon as you know you want to apply and as soon as you have everything ready. But they also said, you know, if someone started a residency, but then they found out they wanted to do something else and something happened in life, and then they ended up doing research, they need to send an email and let us know about that, because sometimes we won't even see their application. So something to consider. Then unexplained gaps. It's very important to try to be enrolled in something, and when you're doing your CV, that you don't have any unexplained gaps since you're graduated. Lack of US clinical experience can be a red flag. For some programs, it will be a no, but many, I would say most of my friends that have matched in the US did not have a clinical experience, so it won't be a complete red flag. And then limited or poor letters of recommendations. We'll talk more about letters of recommendation. Failure to address program requirements. They have it in their web pages. And sometimes you're hopeful and you're like, maybe they put that, but it's not really a requirement. They do follow what they have in their web pages. So just address what they were saying as stating as their requirements. And then if you have any ethical issues, and I think it's worldwide, if you have any ethical issues, you'll have to explain that and address it. And it's going to be a question for your interviews. Personal statements and how important is it? I know I spent a lot of time, effort, nights on this. Some other program directors and associate program directors, they say, we know people utilize lots of energy for this, but it's actually not as important as they think. Sometimes this is the space for you to explain a red flag, to explain a gap, or to explain something. They say they read lots of personal statements every year, and it's hard to have a compelling personal statement. So they say most of them start with like a family member that tragically died or had this medical issue or a patient encounter. And many people invest 1 or 2 paragraphs in saying what motivated them to pursue that specific residency program. Some were saying, I would actually be more interested if the personal statement tells me why you feel like pursuing this residency program will serve you in the future to achieve your goals, so that I can see how you envision yourself and how passionate you are, and like you want to work with this population, and if I go to this program, I'll be able to fulfill this. So just to show how enthusiastic you are. As IMGs, it's very important for you to check, and double check. Avoid any grammar errors, any typos. You want to show that your English as well. So, and it's also, it shows professionalism, that you care. So it's very important for you to be very mindful and check for any grammar and typos. Do not send a personal statement with grammar and typos. And then navigating the interview season can be very challenging, especially when your university doesn't have like an advisor. So you do have to network and ask for help. So research the programs. It is very important for you to show interest about the program. It can end up, as IMGs, you end up applying to many programs, at least that was my case. And you can end up getting confused because things can be very similar, but it's very important for you to research the program you're applying to, research about the city, know about the city, show interest. Know what to expect. They will send you how the interview will go. So, if it's one-on-one, or if you're going to have multiple interviews, if you're going to have a group interview. There's lots of forums and chats. Those can be helpful because they can help you know what to expect. I remember in one of those forums, I read that for one of my interviews, there was going to be someone asking me clinical questions and that people were crying after the interview. So that helped me because I knew what to expect. And I was like, if I feel bad about not answering the clinical questions, I'll know that that's what's going on. Everyone's been through that, so I'll be okay with it. But sometimes those forums can also give you lots of stress. So know yourself. And then practice. Even Alma helped me once practice. I practiced with her. I practiced with Ppcr friends because I was in Ppcr while I was interviewing, preparing for my interview. So I prepped with them as well. They would come up with questions and we will meet in the video and we would practice, and that helped a lot. So practice, that helps a lot. And lots of us are very willing, just reach out to any of us and we're willing to help you practice. And then know and highlight your strengths. And there's no room for imposter syndrome. I think there's like a pandemic of imposter syndrome. Many of us have a little bit of it, but there's no room in interview season to have it. You have to be humble, but also know your strengths. This is a time to be happy and celebrate your strengths. And then be familiar with the US healthcare system. It's important for them, and it should, especially if you want to train in the US, you should be interested in understanding the US healthcare system. And I did have questions about how's the healthcare system in Colombia and how do you think it relates, compares, and contrasts with the medical system here in the US, and what challenges are you going to face once you come here? And I had that more than once. So I think it's becoming more and more important. So be familiar with it, try to read the news and see what's going on. Sometimes they will ask you about, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges we have now in our healthcare system? So just be prepared with that too. Prepare questions. I remember I heard a podcast in Spotify about preparing for interviews, and one was saying, like, you can prepare any question they may ask you, but there's one that you will show that how strong you are and how interested you are, and it's prepare questions for them. I had one interview where the program director was like, this is the space for you to know if we are your match as well. So you have 30 minutes to ask me questions. So if you're not prepared, it's going to be awkward, it's going to be silent, and it shows them a lack of interest if you don't have questions. So I would say always prepare questions that can work for any program, like your safeguard questions, but also try to have specific questions. And there's a nice podcast about it that shows, like, you can, throughout a question, you can show them, I'm interested in your program, I read about your program, and this is a question I have. So you would be like, well, I'm very interested in global health because I've been working on this, and I saw that you have you have an advanced competency. Can you show me how I would be able to participate on that, or something like that? That shows you that you were interested and you saw it from their webpage or from their program. And then show enthusiasm, but the most important, many of them say, is just be yourself. They know when you're like not being yourself, and they enjoy it when you're being yourself, and you can see it's genuine. And then some questions that you may encounter. Now it's becoming more and more important to eliminate systematic bias. So many are gearing towards having the same questions for all the participants. So in some interviews, you're going to have like one question per person, and you're going to transition to all those questions and hypothetical questions, so that you're like, they're trying to do it more systematic to try to reduce bias in the interviews. But many started their conversation with just like, well, just tell me about yourself. So just prep for it. I had like I think it was more like an abstract, if you would say, of what I would say and how I would start, so that it would just flow. And then it would change from interview to interview so that it was more genuine and not so like I memorized something, but just knowing the bullet points of the things I wanted to talk about when tell me about yourself helped me a lot. And this was a very common question. What questions do you have for me? We talked about this. And then from those systematic questions, one that I had several times, and just talk with someone when you get interviews, talk with someone who had an interview last year and ask them to what questions did you have? Because if you prep them, once you have them, you may improvise, but you're not taken off guard. So a challenging experience during your medical training, why the US and why that specific program? How do you say yourself 5 years from now? This was one that was very common from the peds side. And I remember I would say like, well, I will still be in training in child neurology because it's a 5-year training program. And then they will ask you questions about something in your CV. If you have research and someone is interested in something in your research, they will ask you about that research. So be sure that you have things in your CV you're comfortable talking about. And some will also talk about your personal statement. And I mentioned it's a very interesting question for them for you to compare and contrast the healthcare system in your country and how it differs from the one in the US. I also had, I think this was one of the hard questions for me, and it was, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing healthcare today? And then describe a time when you made a mistake and what you learned from it. This one caught me off guard, so I had like a little bit of a silence. I'm like, yeah, this is a very interesting question. Let me think about it. And then how do you engage in self-reflection and continuous improvement as a physician? Those are not the most common questions, but just beware. I think it was nice just to practice questions in general so that I was not taken off guard. And then additional tips, post-interview communication. They say only if questions, like if you have a question or if you wanted to meet someone else, if they tell you if you're interested in the meeting with any of our staff or any of our attendings that we're not here, just let us know. And if you're genuinely interested in a field, just be like, I'm very interested in genetics and I would love to be able to talk to this person, and they will arrange for it. And I think even if you're not going to match there, it's a nice opportunity for you to learn to connect and for you to start doing networking. Do not send thank you emails if the program asks you not to, because it's for them as if you're not listening to what they're asking, and many are trying not to involve in post-interview communication unless it's to answer questions that you have. And then I would say take notes about how you felt after the interview, because things are going to merge once you're in interview number 18. And it's very important just for you to know how you feel, because you have to trust your instincts as well. And then reach out to residents. This was very helpful in my program. After I matched with my class, we decided to create the applicant body system, because for me it was very helpful as well. So we just matched the applicants to our residents so that they can feel comfortable. Residents do not participate in the selection, at least not in my program. We're not involved in selecting the applicants, so it's a safe space, and they can give you a nice perspective. So I remember reaching out, calling residents, talking to them, and it was so helpful, all the perspective they gave me. And then they've done that to me as well, and I'm happy to take the call, and I'll be super honest. I'll tell you how my CD is, the things I like, the things I don't like. So I think that's a very nice way for you to ask all those questions that maybe it's not for the interview, but it's important for you to choose. And then how do you find an IMG friendly program? Research the program requirements, as I'm telling you. Mine would tell you there. If you don't have hands-on experiences, it's a no. Some will actually say, we sponsor J1 visas, we welcome IMGs, so that gives you an idea. Some will put there, we do not sponsor visas. There's a few programs, most of them do sponsor them, but it gives you an idea. Review the NRMP match data, seek advice from other IMGs, and you'll see it in their web pages as well. You can see how many are IMGs. Don't guide yourself solely from the residents that are there, because programs may start changing. So my counterpart, the internal medicine part from my university, started having the international scholars. So they're at least having 2 international students matched to internal medicine as part of their program. And that's a new thing they have. So they're starting to recruit more IMGs. So do not do not lose motivation if you see in the webpage there's no IMG. Attend open houses. I think that was very helpful for me. I do not have social media. I do not have Twitter, Instagram, but for the interview season, I did created one because it helped me. I was in COVID time, so I could not visit any of the programs. Things are still virtual for the most part, but being able to see the Instagram, the Twitter of the program can give you insight that can be very helpful as well. And then review the program website. And then for ranking, I would say it is very personal. Consider your goals and priorities, the city and geography. You're gonna be there for 3-5 years, depending on your program. So considering the city is very important. The weather, are you bad for winter? Do you want to be in a city that's connected? It's easy to get a flight and travel to your hometown. It's a very personal decision. Do you want to be closer to family, or do you just care about being on the top 5 programs? And those are all acceptable reasons, but it's your personal reason. So trust the process and your instincts. Sometimes you say, I don't think this program will take me, but you can still rank it number 1 because it's an algorithm. So if they don't take you, the algorithm will move to your number 2. But if that's the one you like the most, put it number 1. And then you got this. We're a big network of IMGs, and we're all very happy, and we want to help. So reach out, do your research, and just connect. And there's a big program, and lots of. If you go to Twitter, you'll see as well IMG match, IMG hashtag IMG friendly, and you'll have people that just want to have mentors and mentor, and there are lots of mentees that they like that mentoring process was very helpful for them as well. And then I wanted to leave this brief because you could talk this for hours, but I wanted to open it up for any questions you may have. And I cannot.
Great. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And actually, Alexia ask you something. Alexia Perez, she's a current web student, and she's asking, how should we address the gap now that there are only max 10 experiences on ERAS?
Yeah, that's a changes. And even applying for the fellowship, there's also like having a hard time. I would say if there's something that is kind of longitudinal and a longitudinal experience, then prioritize that as one of your experiences. And it allows you for a description. So you can also, in the description, that can also help. That can also help with the gap. And then what they were saying is, because of the experiences you're prioritizing, the other space where you can address the gap is the personal statement. You can have it there, but try to prioritize any experience that is longitudinal and can help you address a gap in one of those 10s. But yeah, that changed. And even for the US graduates, that's being very challenging because before you can just list a big list one. But try to have something that is longitudinal, and maybe you don't even realize it. But there's things in any research project that can be more longitudinal than you imagine.
Great. Thank you, Anna. And guys, feel free to open the mic or type here in the chat and Prophet that we have her right now, so you can ask questions directly.
And if more questions come up, feel free to, you can always email or reach out. I think this process is all the time changing, but I do feel like more and more programs are starting to see, the programs that were not traditionally IMG friendly are starting to see that IMGs are a very important workforce, and they are contributing to diversity, representation, and for health equity, it's important to have that.
Indeed.
Hello.
Let's go ahead.
I have a
Hi.
question. Thank you so much for your time, Doctor, first of all. And I'd like to ask you, do you have any questions for us to find programs like the Gorgas or the IRI one? Like, where do we look for? How do we know if they are like meaningful?
Well, the IRI, and I know many of the Ppcr alumni are IRI graduates as well. I started the IRI program, the International Research Initiative, and you can go to their webpage. I think that one was very, very meaningful, and many of us, they celebrate, if you see their Twitter, they celebrate every year the IRI alumni who matched in the US. It was great because you're paired with the lab, but you're paired also with a mentor. I think Alma just placed the webpage. And the Global Neurology Research Group, the mentor, it was a mentor that IRI found for me, because you interview and they seek someone that is the perfect match for you as a lab and as a mentor. And I'm still working with her. She was the best mentor they could find for me. I'm still gonna work in global health with her. Next year, I may be working and traveling with that mentor. So it was a very meaningful experience. And even if she didn't write a letter in terms of my clinical skills, she connected. She knew what I wanted to do. So she found out program directors and she arranged meetings for me to talk to them. She advocated for me. And I know many mentors from my friends did similar things as well. So just that part of having someone in the US that will work with you, and you come here, you're enthusiastic, you're passionate about that work, and they see it, and they love having someone that is passionate and they want to help you. So it was a very meaningful experience. I could talk about the IRI one because I did it. I could talk about the ITPND, anyone who wants to do child neurology and likes working with neurodevelopmental disorders or autism. The Gorgeous, it was mentioned by one of the program directors that they have people that have done it, and it's like a good experience as well, but I didn't do it, so I wouldn't know how much. I would have further insight into that one. But the IRI one, you can look for it and see all that. They have many labs, and all of their graduates have done great things. Even if you're interested in doing research in the US and then going back to your country, you don't want to do a medical residency, that's also a very meaningful experience for you.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Yeah, of course.
Any other question, guys? Please, really profit that we have her.
So I think there's that one about the postgraduate years, I think. If you decided for it to be.
Yeah, so Wendy Oliver, she's asking, I decided to follow the medical residency in the US late, so how can I compensate for it if I'm an old graduate IMG?
So there's different ways. Some programs, it will be hard. Even they were saying, even if you're a US graduate, you did a residency, you did pediatrics, you worked 2 years as a pediatrician, and then you were like, actually, I want to do derm. Sometimes they do apply a filter in the area. So you have to reach out to the programs and be like, and program coordinators, I'm very interested. This is my story. And I know my program director had someone from Turkey that was a neurologist from Turkey. And she reached out like, this, my pathway is kind of unique and it's different. And you have to reach out. So you do have to reach out. Sometimes they won't even see it. And you can be fantastic, but they won't see it. And then having a mentor, research mentor, and any mentor who can advocate and reach out as well. They're like, I have this person, decided to come to the US 5 years or 10 years afterwards, but this person is fantastic. So having an advocate for you can be very helpful as well. We've had it. We have people that have not matched, and then 3 years later they match, or people that are 8 years postgraduate and they end up matching. So it's not a complete no. It can be more challenging, but there's ways. You have to reach out. Finding a mentor can help as well. And then it depends. Some have done a residency in their hometown, as I mentioned, child neurology, or maybe they're a pediatrician from Colombia. So you can do a fellowship. So it's kind of going backwards, but that works for some. And you're interested in endocrinology or infectious diseases. Those are not very competitive. They always have they have unfilled positions. So they look for people. You can go there, do a fellowship. And then if you want to stay in the US because you like the research or their healthcare system, you can go back and do PEDS, and then you can stay. So because that will be considered hands-on experience and your program would know you. So there's different ways to do it. So it depends in your specific story, context, background, how you navigate it, but there's ways to. Yeah, of course.
Any other questions? Remember that the IRI, because the IRI, the other participants before came, Manuel Castillo, we have the recording there. He's in the committee and he's still working as a junior faculty in Ppcr. If you want to reach out, we're also meeting them during the July workshop. We're going to have a dinner with all the Ppcr alumni so you can network too in case that you're coming. For people interested there on for this initiative, the deadline to apply is July 30. So you have to have everything ready right now. I understand that it's more competitive every year, but it's a great opportunity because they will match you. with the lab that you prefer. They will try to find the lab for you, even in case that they don't even have it. They will like for the PIs, and it's a really amazing opportunity if you want to do research in Boston. And the hospitals are great. They're great networks opportunity, and yeah, you grow, and there's also a lot of mentorship. Oh, Melanie asked a question there. Hello, thank you for your wonderful presentation. I have a doubt about your choice to pursue child neurology before switching to pediatrics. Are there only two routes to go after child neuro, or either child neuro or peds, or also neurology?
So I knew I wanted to do something in neurology. I was considering, do I want to do adult neurology or pediatric neurology? But I knew I wanted to work with behavioral things and neurology and neurodevelopment. In Colombia, you can do either, there's only one combined program, and the rest is you do the 3 years of pediatrics, and then you do 3 years of child neurology. And then my mentor in Boston made me talk to one of the program directors of child neurology, and her recommendation was, if you want to do child neurology, my recommendation is for you to pursue the combined program, because there's a lot more positions for the combined program. The combined program in the US is 2 years of pediatrics and 3 years of child neurology. There's more positions, and most programs have those positions. The advanced positions means that you completed pediatrics, you didn't know you wanted to do child neurology, or you ended up matching in pediatrics, which has happened to some people wanted to do child neurology. And then after those 3 years, you apply to the advanced positions. Some programs have advanced positions, but most of them do not. They just open them whenever someone from the residencies leave the program, so they have a gap. So for instance, one of my colleagues left because of family issues, so we opened up an advanced position. And when I was applying, the program director told me, we have 2 advanced positions, but we didn't have them for the past 5 years. So you can do pediatrics and then change to pursue child neurology. But most of the people in child neurology do the combined one. And then in the adult world, neurology is 4 years, 1 year internal medicine and 3 of neurology, and it's also combined. And it's considered like a combined residency. And if you want to do child neurology, because it's a small niche, reach out to me, because that would be helpful. And I would be very happy to help.
Great, thank you, Anna, for that. And indeed, I believe we got one more student like that. So I'll put you in contact soon.
Wonderful, yeah.
And then, okay. Any other question, guys, please? We got 13 more minutes. Oh, there, Fernanda Petrus is asking, can we use Freda to choose program over interest to send emails for observership opportunities? How do you select the programs to send email for observerships?
So in my time, which was 2-3 years ago, I did not pursue observerships, but my friends did use, I don't know how you pronounce it in English, Freda, but yeah, we did use that one. And then you go directly to the webpage from their programs. One of the APDs was saying, look for visiting scholars programs. They will have it in their webpage. If you go to Boston Children's, they have like a visiting scholars section. Most of them charge for it. So it will tell you it's a 1 month experience. This is how much you have to pay. Some of them are competitive. So you have to apply because many people are applying for the observerships and they're limited positions. So some of them are very competitive. Try to reach out to someone in the program, but you will see it in their webpage. So visiting scholars from accredited and well-known institutions. So we have someone from my Ppcr class that we were talking a month ago, and she was mentioning she went to a conference, a cardiology conference, and networking is so important. She went to every hospital table and was saying I'm very interested in cardiology. I'm from Brazil. And then someone was very interested in her and offered her an observership. So you just have to do networking as well. And once they see you're enthusiastic, they will be willing to give you spots as well.
Great advice. Actually, that's true. Totally true. Great. Okay.
I don't know if I saw a question about finding a mentor, and I don't know if you already had the Ppcr, if you still have it, the mentor talk, because we had one session about mentorship.
That's coming later. That
was so helpful. That was a great session. But finding a good mentor makes a huge difference, because a mentor is someone who really wants to see you grow. And actually, they want to see you outgrow them. So IRI was a great way to find a mentor in the US. I had my mentor here in Colombia. I'm working with him right now in my international elective. So you see those people that are very, very invested in education. And I think when you're looking for one, you can see that they've had all their mentees and the mentees are still connected with them. So those are that really want like being mentors. Like if I showed you here, he has like all the, I mean, he's August right now. He has all the gifts from prior mentees because they come back, they visit him, and they're all like in different parts of the world. And you see that energy that they really want you to grow. And you can see that they're not, sometimes you can see you work with some people and they just want you to work with them because it's easier for them. But real mentors do it because they're passionate about your learning. So try to find one of those people. And then one thing that I found out in medical school is that sometimes it's not that much about finding someone who's interested in the specific thing you're interested as well, but finding someone who cares and is enthusiastic about your learning. Because sometimes the good mentor is working in something else, but having a great mentor makes a huge, huge difference. So I would also say, reach out to someone who has worked with that person. Talk to those people. That gives you great insight. And you'll enjoy the talk about mentors and mentees that is coming up soon.
Yes, indeed, it's coming soon. I mean, in Module 4, that is coming after the break, after the July break. Okay, great. Anything else, guys? Sorry. Feel free to open the mic or type in the chat. Anything can work. Okay, so, well, Anna, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love coming back.
It's really nice for us to have you and to see you, growing and seeing, all the things that you're achieving. It is an honor for us to have you every year again with us. So, everyone, this will be recorded, and as you know, I'm posting in Google Classroom. If you have anything, we're also going to share Anna's slides there. I'm going to see you again this Thursday during the lecture, and please keep working and fill the group project expertise form, because we need to redistribute the questions tonight, hopefully, if everybody feel it. And then we're going to keep working throughout the week. And I'll see you guys. Have a nice week. And thank you, Anna, again. And
Thank you.
Any final words?
Enjoy Ppcr and feel free to reach out. It's great to being here. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Anna. Have a nice night. Bye-bye.